Welcome to Sports World Have Your Say, your weekly chance to tell us the score once the final whistle has gone. Today, Balotelli off, Arteta scores. Have Man City surrendered the title hopes? At Old Trafford, another controversial penalty helps Man United extend their lead.
The only thing I take out of the game is that, we won our match. That's important. We've only 6 games left now, and we're a goal better off now than City.
1 win in 8 games for Liverpool. Do teams no longer fare a trip to Anfield?
This would be a bit like the old days coming back there with the crowd walling one in at the back of the net, but it wasn't to be.
And is La Liga the leader? 5 Spanish teams surviving Europe. So is their league the best? You can dial in on Skype, or Skype name is SportsWise, and you can join the conversation on Twitter with the hashtag SYHYS. There's loads to discuss over the next hour. If you've got something to get off your chest, this is where you can do it. Some of the ways you can get in touch are on the right of your screen. There's already been some lively debate on our Facebook page. You can give us a call using country code 44 20 70 83 73 33. Here with me to talk through the biggest talking points of the weekend. Once he was my apprentice, now he's the manager of Charlton Ladies. Former Charlton Villa and Palace midfielder Paul Mortimer is next with me. But first, let's get a summary of the latest news. Well, I have my old friend Paul Mortimer with me here in the studio. So, Paul, my first question is to you. Man City were 8 points clear in December. They're now 8 points behind Man United. And with that performance today, is that their title hopes blown away?
Definitely, yeah. I cannot see them coming back from that. Alex Ferguson, he always sort of puts a smile on my face. He knows the route. He knows what needs to be done. I liken him to a top Formula One driver who knows the route, knows when to slow down, knows when to rest, knows when to accelerate, knows when the twists and turns are going to come. And he's dealt with it superbly well. Whereas, Mancini doesn't really know these things, and because he hasn't experienced them before, and that's why Alex Ferguson is the top man.
Well, let me just put that to Neil, our Man City supporter in Australia. Neil, Paul says that so Alex knows all the twists and turns. He knows what's coming. Didn't Mancini see this coming?
I don't think he did. I think he's been pretty poor in the past few team selections. His refusal to rest him. He eventually succumbed to a knee injury today. He's been off the colour for a couple of weeks, and everybody's seen it except Mancini. So he's had his failings in that department, and chopping and changing his lineup every game. Today we saw Dzeko and Tevez on the bench and Balotelli start, and I think there was a stat before the game that only 3 City players have started the last 5 games, and that's not the sort of momentum you need when you're trying to win a title.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to get Vincent, a Man United supporter. I'm sure Vincent will be smiling at the moment. But Vincent, why can Man United do this where it seems that no other team can handle the pressure like Man United and obviously their manager Sir Alex Ferguson? What's he got that no one else has got?
I think it has to do with experience, taking advantage of the players who are there and getting result when it really matters. I think what has to be taken into consideration is that Premier League is like a marathon. It takes some time, and it doesn't have to be a sprint like what Man City wanted us to believe. But a marathon, you have to take a good time, and slowly you get the result that you require.
Neil, has Balotelli got anything to do with your shortcomings?
He has a big part of it in the sense that he's an absolutely fantastic, talented player and is an asset to the team when he's on form. And unfortunately, he hasn't been on form enough this year. We all know the potential he has, but there's only so often you can hide behind that. And to be suspended for as many games as he had this year is a hindrance to the team. At a time when Vincent Kompany was out injured and Yaya Toure was at the African Cup of Nations, you need your big name players to step up to the plate. And Balotelli was suspended for that period for his indiscretions. So I think patience is wearing very thin, whether it's with Mancini, the fans, and everybody associated with the club. And I don't know how long Balotelli has left as a City player. And as I said to friends earlier on today, if he was to leave in the summer, it'd be met with a shrug of the shoulders and a we move on rather than disappointment.
Paul, I know you got a view on this because you got a real. He brings out the worst in you, Balotelli, doesn't he?
Yeah. Do you know what? He's a fabulous player. Let's get that right. He's an absolute fabulous player, but he's a liability. because you really do not know what you're going to get from him from minute to minute. Don't worry about from game to game. You know, he's a talent. There's no disputing that. But when you're at the top of the table and you're fighting for the championship, you need to know day in, day out what you're going to get from your players. You cannot have loose cannons who can cost you games. You know, they may have drawn that had Balotelli stayed on. You never know. But you know, you could sense that he was going to get sent off. And you know, when you've got players like that, you're never really gonna be the team you should be, because they always let you down.
So is it not worth taking a gamble when he's got that much ability, when he can score goals like he has this season, that he's going to just get you over the line? Is it not worth the gamble?
Well, he's got to be on the pitch to do that first and foremost. You know, I think it's 3 times he's been sent off this season, which means, you know, is he going to be able to play any more of the games this season? I'm not quite sure, and that will cost them hugely. So if you look at that over a season, how many important games would he miss? You know, it's just too big a gamble to take. I would need players who, you know, I know what they're going to give me week in, week out. And you know what? They may not hit the heights that Balotelli does, but they definitely will not hit them lows, and they won't cost you games.
Well, this is what Roberto Mancini had to say after the game.
Today we have 15 points more than last year. This one said that we did well. Now, clearly it's difficult to win the title, but we should hope that they can lose some point, 3 points or 4 points before derby, and after we will see.
Neil, what do you think? What do you think of Mancini's post-match press conference?
Yeah, he said before the game he lost today that 8 points would be too big to make up, and I think he's conceding the time. Says, and unfortunately today wasn't lost. It was lost with you know, poor performance against like Sunderland, Stoke, and Swansea. You know, one game doesn't lose this season, and unfortunately Mancini and the players have to accept that it's been a poor run of form, and they've been found out at the business end of the season. Whereas United have just kicked on and looked stronger. So the sides have gone in opposite directions, and Mancini to me sounds today that he's conceded it like a lot of supporters have.
OK, I want to bring Laura, our Arsenal supporter in London. Laura, Arsenal are recognised as being a feeder club to Man City. You were at the game today. How did that make you feel today?
Oh, it was a most wonderful feeling. No, we're not a feeder club. Manchester City just, they send out the money, and some people will snap their hand off for it.
But I mean, that must be frustrating. Watching Arsenal come from behind, they were in the depths of the Premier League, and all of a sudden they're playing well, but they can't win the league.
No, we can't win the league, but I think it shows the resilience of the team that we've got around us. Some of the buys that we bought at the end of the summer, Mikel Arteta has been an absolutely fantastic signing for us, and there is no other manager, I believe, in the Premiership that could have turned around the Arsenal that you see today, and we will get 3rd place.
But how does it feel handing the title to Man United, your arch rivals?
My personal opinion is I'd rather see Manchester United win it this year than Manchester City.
Vincent, I'm going to bring you in here because for a lot of this season, people have been saying Man United, they're not good enough, they're nowhere near the team in previous years. Why are they so far clear in the Premier League this season?
I think one thing to credit Man United is they've been playing as a team. If you look at Manchester City, they were getting results at the beginning of the season. But they are full of stars. They're not playing as a team. But Manchester United, they've been getting the results as a result of being a team. Antonio Valencia has been fantastic. We've been getting good results from him. Rooney has been very dependable. And all the other guys have been playing as a team. So there's no particular player to single out and say he's a star. So we've been playing as a team. And that is the reason why we're getting the results.
But, Paul, Vieira said that bringing back Paul Scholes was a sign of weakness. Is it a sign of weakness?
Absolutely not. Again, it's a masterstroke by Alex Ferguson. He knew exactly what he was doing. You see, you look at the nucleus of Manchester United's side, and they know how to stay the course. You know, the goalkeeper's decent. You've got Ferdinand at the back. You've got, you know, Carrick in the middle. Giggs plays in the middle. They brought Scholes back. Rooney up front. They're players that have done it. They know what's required. They understand what's required. It was a masterstroke bringing back Paul Scholes. I tell you what, I honestly bet Vieira wishes he had a Scholes in his side, because I think their sort of downturn has coincided with the loss in form of David Silva, who sparkled, you know, brightly at the start of the season, and has, you know, he wasn't even there today, you know, and you know, it has cost them, you know, and again, it's about relying on one or two players, whereas you look at Man United, it's probably their most workmanlike squad. There are very few stars, but you know what? They understand what's required. It's the simple basics they keep doing. Sparkle wins you games every now and again, but the simple basics and understanding what's required is what's got them where they are. And you know, they're a fantastic side. You know, you wouldn't say it was a classic Man United side, but I truly believe, I think it's the best squad they've had, because it isn't, you know, the full of stars.
Gio, in New Jersey, a Man United fan, do you agree with what Paul just said? They're not a classic side?
I mean, absolutely. You see, you know, Nemanja Vidic has been hurt the majority of the season. You're missing guys like Nani. You know, still haven't found a definite right back, but, you know, they've managed to plug in guys. I mean, Sir Alex Ferguson's strategy, you know, keep the mentality of the team going, and all they do is win games no matter who's playing. I mean, Giggs used to be a winger. Scholes used to be a striker. They can play anywhere, and, you know, that's the kind of the strategy he's always kind of employed at Man United. Just, you know, keep on, and at the end of the season, just be there to contend, and hopefully, you know, you can be at the top of the table.
Paul, I see you nodding there. What are you nodding about?
He's quite right. I mean, I think Valencia's played right back this season. I think Carrick's played centre-half. Everyone's played out of position, but it hasn't really been a problem. You know, the players understand the team ethic. You look at Man City, and I think they are full of talented players, but individuals who don't know yet how to play as a team. And, you know, the manager has to be given time to mould them into a side that's worthy of being champions. Man United, they understand, like I said, the nucleus of the side. That knits everything together. And, you know, Man City aren't quite there yet. They're not quite there yet.
Gio, Paul Scholes, is he one? Do you need to sign him again for next year?
I mean, absolutely. I'm a young guy here. I've been watching Man United for a few years, and I just wish I got to see him in his prime. And from what I've seen the last few months and the past couple of seasons, he's an absolute, you know, he's a class player. And he links up the team, and he's the absolute best distributor of the ball. And he just got off the couch a few months ago, so that's quite a feat. It's unexplainable, to be honest.
Okay. Thank you, Gio. Look, stay with us here on Sports World. Have your say. So, the bottom of the table stays the same. The bottom five all lost, Paul. So, I mean, are Wolves doomed? And was it a bit of a big job for Terry Connor?
Yeah, I think Wolves are doomed. I think we have to admit that. I feel sorry for Terry Connor, because he's almost been thrown to the lions a little bit. It was a job for an experienced man, to be truthfully honest, and, you know, I feel for him. He would take it just as we would have, because you know, it's an opportunity, but I'm not sure that someone, you know, a fledgling boss can handle something like that. The pressure is too great, and, you know, it's going to be very tough for him.
And who do you think will stay up out of that bottom four if Wolves are going to go?
I have to believe, I think Wolves will go. Who will stay up? QPR, because I'm a QPR fan. QPR will stay up. The rest can go.
Well, thanks, Paul. Well, you're being a bit biased there, but anyway, thanks for that. And we do hope that QPR, they're up my old side this way. I have a soft spot. We'll see you in a little while. Welcome back to Sports World. Have your say. Look, I want to get into Mario Balotelli. We've had some tweets. Chris Mayer writes on Twitter, Balotelli clearly at fault, but Mancini must take the lion's share of the blame. This is what Mancini had to say after the game.
I'm very sorry for him. I don't have any words for his behavior. I love him like guys because he's a good guy. He is a fantastic player, but he needs to change. If not, I think that he can lose all his talent for the future.
Neil, does he need to change or does he need to go?
How many chances are you going to give him to change? You know, we've heard it every time. Scott Parker, we heard it last season when he got sent off to the Europa League. And you can only give a guy so many chances before you have to put him loose. And I think that Mancini, it's admirable that he stood by his player and he's defended him to the hilt. But there comes a time when you have to realise that he's causing more trouble than he's worth. And look, I enjoy a bit of a bet from every now and then, and I put money on Balotelli to be booked today, and also for to be a red card in the game. So that's where my thoughts as a City fan lie. You know something is going to happen when he's on the pitch, and yes, his goal scoring record is excellent. But City have proved this year that they've other players that can score goals, and they don't necessarily need this liability week in, week out.
Yeah, we just saw him being red carded on your screen there. Laura, how would you like to see Balotelli in the Arsenal side next season?
No, thank you. No, I'll take Lucas Podolski. Thanks very much.
Well, that's interesting because all about Clint Dempsey. He's having a great season at Fulham.
Yes, Clint Dempsey had a very good game yesterday, scored a couple of goals. I've heard the rumours, and I would certainly welcome him over somebody like Balotelli. But I think the thing you have to think about Balotelli is he is only 21 years old, so he's still a very young lad who's maturing. And it's not to take any credit away from Mancini, but people like Alex Ferguson and Arsene Wenger, they know how to take young players and wrap their arms around them and help them mature both on and off the pitch. And I think a young player like Balotelli is in a side, a lot of superstars, and he doesn't necessarily have anybody there within the team to help mentor him. And I think it's also a struggle for the manager. He doesn't really know how to, bring on such a young talent. I think the lad has talent.
Paul, how would Sir Alex Ferguson handle Balotelli?
A bit of the carrot and the stick, I should think. He will put his hand around him and look after him, put his arms around him, look after him, but he'd also give him a kick up the backside that he needs. The young lady was talking about, Mancini looking after Balotelli. As far as I'm concerned, don't buy players that you don't think you can control. You just can't. If you don't know how to control them, you just don't buy them, because he has caused so many problems this season. And furthermore, I think that if he is kept, the players at Man City, they will see what it's cost them this season to have a player like him in their squad, and they will have to start policing him if Mancini doesn't, and that could cause its own problems. So, again, it's something that Mancini doesn't really have enough experience in, but you know Alex Ferguson would have dealt with him. You know it. You know that the kind of behaviour that you've seen from Balotelli just wouldn't be acceptable at Manchester United. Period.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Balotelli going, Neil. What about Mancini? Should he stay?
Yeah, that's a big question, and I think a lot of it depends on Mourinho's availability in the summer. I don't like this idea of sacking managers on a whim, and City have gone through their fair share in the past decade or so, and I think we need a bit of stability at some stage. It has to happen when you give a guy an opportunity to build a dynasty. It didn't happen with Sven, it didn't happen with Hughes, and now we're into Mancini. The fact of the matter is Mancini has progressed the side every season he's been there. Finished second, going to finish second in the Premier League this year, having finished third last year. So it's progress. So to sack him on the back of that is a little bit short-sighted, but at the same time, some of his decisions are baffling. I mean, taking off Nasri and bringing on Kolarov today was a bit of a head-scratcher, and also leaving Echo on the bench for 90 minutes when he admitted himself to the game we had to win. So I think there'll be talks between himself and the owners at the end of the season, and it all depends on the availability.
Okay, Neil, it sounds just deteriorating a little bit there. I did hear you say about something scratching your head. Well, somebody else has got me scratching my head. This is what Man City executive Patrick Vieira said to the BBC recently. I think when you go to United, Madrid, Barcelona or Milan, when the referees referee these kind of games, it's always difficult to go to these kinds of teams. Paul, was he right?
Having played at Manchester United, I can see how he would think that way, because when you look at it, they do get a lot of decisions go their way. But then, having said that, they're attacking most of the time. They're good sides. There is that pressure when you go and play there, and sometimes the referees do sort of play the occasion a little bit. But I think he's whining a little bit. Having been at a top team like Arsenal, having experienced the rub of the green as often as he has, it smacks a little bit of sour grapes for me.
Vincent, yeah, Man United, don't you think there's an element of truth there? I mean, that goal today was miles offside, wasn't it? Vincent, oh sorry, Vincent's lost it. Giovanni, I'll put that to you. That goal, isn't there an element of truth that you always get your decisions at Old Trafford?
I mean, I got to say, being a Man United fan, you do, get fortunate with a few calls. But, like they were saying, when you dominate a game with 75% possession and you've been there and the referees understand you're always on the attack and, you're always trying to get ahead, you just got to take the calls and kind of deal with it. You can't really, it's the referee's call. It's not up to the players. So they just go on and, keep trying to get goals. And if the referees make a call, then they make a call. And that's just kind of what happens.
Well, to be honest, Laura, I'll bring you in there because Arsenal get most of the penalty decisions. And so, don't you think you get the rub of the green at the Emirates?
No, I don't think so. It's a very difficult job for a referee, and as a fan, we're all very much experts, and we feel we can see things more clearly. Obviously, the way that media can cover things now, you can see things more clearly, but at the end of the day, what the referee says, that's the decision that's made, and you just have to accept it.
Look, I'm going to bring in Russ, a Fulham fan. I mean, obviously, because Laura is an Arsenal fan. Once your centre forward and midfield player get Clint Dempsey, Russ, what do you think of that after his performance yesterday at Bolton?
Yeah, to be honest with you, the more he scores, the more worried I get. Because I know that he has a desire to go to a Champions League side, and Arsenal have been rumoured to be interested in him. So I guess you could say I'm a little concerned, and I would understand why the Arsenal fan would like to have him, because he's upped his game since coming to Fulham and could be a very, very valuable asset to Arsenal, honestly.
OK, Russ, well, I've got something I think is very close to your heart. QPR boss Mark Hughes spoke to the BBC after his team's game against Man United.
Obviously, yesterday, obviously, situation at Chelsea. I know Roberto's very upset with the decisions he faced, and it seems to happen to the teams down the bottom rather more readily than teams at the top.
Russ, do you agree with your old boss Mark Hughes?
You know what? I don't agree with him, and I'm not a huge fan of Mark Hughes, as you can probably imagine how he left us. But to be honest with you, I think clubs get calls at home. I think it's more about being at home. Fulham have had their share of calls as well, and I think what happened to Fulham at Man United had to do a little bit with the fact that they were at home, and probably a little that they were Man United. But I think when it comes down to the home teams get the home calls. That's the way I look at it.
Paul, Wigan had two terrible calls yesterday, 2 goals that were blatantly offside. You were talking about teams getting it at the top, and what about teams at the bottom? They never get a rub of the green.
I saw that last night, and I watched it again this morning, and I've normally got plenty of words. I was speechless. They were just 2 terrible decisions. As with the Man United one today, they're just terrible decisions. And until officials can be made to come out and answer for them, how could you not see that they were offside? I felt for Wigan yesterday. I feel for QPR today. And on the back of them 2 games, you'd have to say the smaller clubs don't get the rub of the green. But the officials have to come out and explain them decisions, because these 2 teams, Wigan, for example, yesterday will have had a game plan. They will have worked really hard on how to stop Chelsea. And when a decision was something like that, that's out of their hands, costs them the game, it's very, very, very tough to take. OK. Giovanni, just finally, Giovanni, being a Man United fan, is there any way that Man United can throw away this 8-point league and lose the Premier League title?
I mean, based off the recent history and the way they're in form right now, that happened. We're singing their praise the East weeks when they go to see City there, but I don't see them kind of dropping any points, especially given the easy schedule they've had the past couple of weeks, and so pretty much easy fixtures they have coming up. Yeah, we're seeing the run in there, and you have to say on paper, they'll look forward to going to Man City off the back of those 3 games leading up to there. Well, look, I just want to thank you, Giovanni, Laura, Vincent, and everybody who's joined in, especially Paul. Thanks for joining us today. Good luck with Charlton Ladies. Thank you. But I want to thank you, the supporters. It's your show, and you've got in touch. And what a show we've had. Man City, have they thrown it away? Man United, 20th title seems to be beckoning. And for me, I'd like to say a goodbye, and we'll see you soon on Sports World Have Your Say.
Welcome to Sports World Have Your Say. I'm Leroy Rosenior. We're going to talk about Spanish football. Why are they in charge in Europe? Can any other leagues catch up? Also, what's the future of the ladies' game? The 2012 Women's Super League kicked off today. Could the women's game be as big as the men's? Post on facebook.com Sportsworld Have Your Say, or tweet with the hashtag SYHYS to get involved in the conversation. You can also add us on Skype. Our Skype name is SportsWise. Paul Mortimer's with me and waited to talk to you. He's manager of Charlton Ladies and used to play for Palace, Charlton and Aston Villa. But first, a summary of the latest news. I want to talk about Spain's dominance. They're world and European champions, but they've still got 5 teams out of 8 still in Europe. And I'm joined by Gerardo in Madrid. Gerardo, you're a Real Madrid supporter. Why is that? Why are Spain so dominant?
Hi.
Hi.
Good evening. I think it's got to do with a root basis, having lots of confidence in the youth systems and promoting Spanish youth players instead of bringing in top youth players in other countries or continents.
Well,
and then obviously managers putting confidence into these youth players, bringing them up to play in the senior squad and actually giving them a chance to.
OK, Gerardo. Well, we can see on our screens, 5 Spanish teams, 1 from England, 1 for Germany and 1 from Portugal. Laura, do you agree with Gerardo? It's all about their youth system and the way they bring players through.
Yes, absolutely, I do. I think the issue is that in the other parts of Europe, there's not enough put into the youth systems, and they have a very strict system. Barcelona is well known to have one of the best in the world, and they retain players. They retain players for longer periods of time. Teams gel, and they're able to keep up and have that consistency. And I think that's a lot to do with it too.
Paul, I hear a lot of people saying that we should adopt the Spanish way. I heard them say we should adopt the Dutch way a little while ago. Are we just too late, or should we just do it the British way?
I think actually Ajax is probably one of the other best that has a very good system. The problem is for Holland is most of their players end up getting farmed out all over the place. But yes, I would like to see more of a Spanish youth system adopted in England.
But Paul, if we took up the Spanish system now, would we be 5 years behind trying to catch up?
Probably. I think the difference between us and let's say Spain and Holland is, you look at it culturally. In Holland, the kids coming up is part of the schooling system and the educational part. The football's involved in that. Whereas in this country, it's not. The whole thing is completely different. Also, if we follow the Spanish way, I think our mentality is different in this country. We're not Spanish. We don't play like that. Our culture isn't that way. We have to find a way that suits the players that we have. And that's the only way we can go about it. We shouldn't copy other people. We can take the good bits from Spain and from Italy and from Holland. But we must create a way that suits the players that we have and our culture of football.
I've got this post from Ross on Facebook. It says a few years ago it was English, and now it's Spain's turn for a short spell. Then it would be English again. Is that right?
I think it goes in cycles. Not so long ago, we had a lot of teams in Europe in the Champions League and in the Europa Cup. I think Fulham got to the final. So 4 years ago, or before Barcelona's dominance, we weren't talking this way. Because other countries were sort of in charge. So it goes in cycles. At this moment in time, the Spanish are the best. I'm not saying their league is the best, but they have creative players, technically very good. Continental football is about possession. They keep the ball very, very well, just like the Dutch do. The Dutch aren't as prominent as they were. And there was a spell where the English were on top. So, like that person says, it comes around in cycles. And, at the moment, this is the Spanish's time, and it's great.
No, I saw you nodding there. I mean, Arsenal fans wanted him out because there are too many youth players coming through. Do you think Arsenal should stick with it?
Yes, I do. And no, I think it's very important to have a good system. And I think Paul is right that it is cyclical. But I also think that it does need to have a good blend and a good mix. And I'm a huge supporter of the youth system. You know, we wouldn't have seen the likes of David Rocastle and Tony Adams had it not been for the youth system. And obviously now the likes of Jack Wilshere coming through our teams.
OK, I got this post from Wimble on Facebook. He says the Bundesliga is the best. La Liga and the Premier League are duopolies. La Liga is dominated by Madrid and Barcelona, while the Premier League is dominated by Man United and Chelsea. Well, Gerardo, do you think that's true? Are there only two teams in Spain?
Yes, I think it is true. But I think the quality of the rest of the league is probably better than the quality of the rest of the league in, say, for example, the Premier League. And this is because of this whole youth system where players are brought in, are bred in the team. So then not only do they have the motivation from the results, but also the motivation that they actually feel the colours that they are playing for.
Well, I don't want to bring in Rory, a Liverpool fan. Rory, you used to have a Spanish manager. I think you won the European Cup or something underneath him that you mentioned once in a while. Do you think that Liverpool should maybe go back to the Spanish way of bringing through players?
It's funny that you should say that, because according to Pep Guardiola from Barcelona, he reckons that Liverpool's youth system and the youth setup is second only to Barcelona's in the whole of Europe.
I mean, Steve Highway was there before, and I heard when they got rid of Steve Highway, a lot of Liverpool supporters weren't happy with that, Roy, were they?
No, I think because obviously Steve Highway was a legend, and obviously when Steve left, there was a lot of changes in the youth system. Various people were brought in, mainly foreigners, which obviously people didn't like at the time. But I think the overall changes and the overhaul at the youth system at the academy is now bearing fruit. And obviously Pep Guardiola, who the manager of the best team in Europe, says that Liverpool's academy system and youth system is second only to Barcelona's. Then I think we must be doing something right.
Okay. I just want to put a question to Gerardo. You're a Real Madrid supporter, Gerardo. Mourinho's gone in. Is your youth system at Madrid, is that bringing through enough young players at the moment?
At the moment, we've had a bit of a dry spell since, say, for example, maybe Casillas. We have a lot of players from our youth system that are being extremely successful in their own teams. Like, for example, Juan Mata at Chelsea came from our youth system and was brought up through the system until he got to the reserve squad, and then went to Valencia and Chelsea from there. Soldado, Valencia's top striker, also went through a whole system and even managed to play a whole season in Real Madrid, but then obviously didn't get the minutes that they were looking for from the managers at the time, and they left. But now I think if a good player, I want to believe that if a good player was really there in the system, in the reserve team, that Mourinho would be happy, would give them an actual chance of showing what they're worth, even if we have the likes of Ronaldo, Higuain, Benzema up front, and some of the top players in their positions.
Okay, Gerardo.
I think that there is definitely a chance for them to come in and prove something.
Okay, Gerard, thanks very much. Russ, you're in Boston. You follow the Premier League from America. Is it all about developing players, or is it more about entertainment?
I actually think it's more about developing players. And the one thing that Fulham actually has done recently has really developed their young academy. I really think it's very important to build that up, and that'll be the lifeblood of Fulham for years to come. You guys were talking about Arsenal, and people kill Arsenal for having all these young players. But I think eventually Arsenal's way will prove to be the right way. Instead of when you have Man City buying all-stars, the Wenger way seems to will eventually work, in my opinion.
Vincent, you're Man United supporter. You saw how Barcelona tore you apart in that European final recently. Do you think Man United can catch up with the likes of Barcelona anytime soon?
Yeah, nothing is impossible. I think what the English team should do is work on the possession. We've seen the Spanish teams playing a lot as far as the possession is concerned. They really possess the ball. So the English teams should adapt their system so at least we can beat Barcelona maybe sooner. In fact, I'm praying that Chelsea does that on our behalf, and so that at least we can end their dominance.
Russ, Fulham, they're a team. If they produce young players, they're invariably going to go to the big sides anyways. Is it worth it?
You know what? It is worth it, and I'll use Chris Smalling as an example. Chris Smalling went to Man United. And honestly, that was probably able to us to get, to bring in better players. He was a young player. We developed him and we sold him pretty high. So, you know what? I'd like them to keep as many players as possible. But the more that they produce, some that they can sell, some will come through the regular first team. And, that's the fight that, smaller clubs like Fulham have. But I think they're going the right way with the youth movement.
Paul, I'm going to give you the last word on this. So everybody was asking Man United for marquee signings all season, and they're 8 points clear at the moment. Do they still need marquee signings?
Not this season, I don't think. In Europe, they probably will. What concerns me, I'm listening to everyone talk about, the foreign football and the kids. If you look at Barcelona and Real Madrid, they're so far ahead of everyone else. They can afford to play their kids. They actually can, because they are head and shoulders above everyone else in Spanish football. In the Premier League, I would say there's probably half a dozen, maybe 5 teams that can win the Premier League. So the competition is fierce. Now, it's very difficult to blood young players in that and expect them to play for the whole season, because, the game demands, that you win. You need to be winners. And for that, you need experience. Yes, you can bring a couple of youngsters in, but there is so much pressure on the top 5. Not so much in Spain, because the top 2, they may change places every year, but the top 2, for me, are guaranteed to win the title every single year.
So, it's all about winning. But look, what I want you to do is stay with us here on Sports World. Have your say. Welcome back. Liverpool manager Kenny Dalglish spoke after the game. This is what he had to say.
As long as the players, or we know as players and staff, that as long as we're showing total commitment, they will be absolutely committed to us. And if we all stick together, then we've got a better chance of pushing onwards and upwards.
John Champion writes on 442.com, even if Liverpool win 2 cups, I don't think that will paper over the cracks. So, Roy, a Liverpool supporter, do you think that Liverpool have sort of lost respect and that fear factor that they once had?
Not particularly. I mean, our problem this year, obviously, has been winning the games at home. We've drawn 9 games out of 16, so if you're going to draw that many games, especially obviously 3 points to a win, you're never going to get in the top 4. But we've played Arsenal at home, United and City. And, every fair minded fan would say we actually battered all 3 of them. So it's not like a case that we're that far behind on the playing level. You do say, hopefully luck evens itself out over the course of the season, but I think we really have had a bad run of luck. I mean, I think we've hit in the 3 competition played, and we hit the post or crossbar 35 times, which is, that's difficult to do. So I think with a bit more rub of the green, it would have been a better year. I'm not saying it's all that, because obviously a lot of the new players we brought in haven't played to the potential what we thought they would do. But on the other hand, obviously, luck does play a lot of part in it, and I think this year in particular, it's been a bad season. Okay,
right. Look, the CGC that Roy's picture's gone green. He's not green with envy because Everton are above them. That's a technical issue. But Russ, is it easier for Fulham? Do you feel when Fulham go to Anfield now that they got a chance of picking up the 3 points?
You mean when they go to Anfield?
When they go to Anfield, do they think they've got a real chance of picking up the points now, whereas in past years they never did?
Yeah, you want to know something? In years past, even the last couple of years, I thought a draw would be a very good result for Fulham. I think this year, just because Liverpool are down a little bit, I actually think we have a shot. I still think Liverpool would be favored to beat Fulham, but it's still someone that I think all Fulham fans respect. I just think that we actually have a better chance than maybe a couple of years before.
Vincent, you know, Liverpool, Man United, always been the biggest game in the calendar. Do you see it as that? Are they your biggest rivals now?
Oh, absolutely.
Vincent?
I don't think so. I don't think so. When you look at how Liverpool are playing at the moment, they are so down. I think Kenny Dalglish has a problem, and it's time he acknowledged it and sorted it out, because Liverpool are really losing games that they are not supposed to be losing. So for me to say our biggest rivals, I don't think so.
Roy, what do you think of that? Do you think he needs to sort it out?
Yeah, definitely. It's been, obviously, we brought these new players in the beginning of the year, and you know, at the end of the day, it was Kenny Dalglish and Kamoli decided to bring them in, and they've not performed. And to get beat at home by teams like Wigan, it's unacceptable, and all those draws as well. Something has to get sorted, but I think it is obviously at the end of the day, the buck stops with the manager. But a lot of the senior players have definitely let him down this year.
OK, well, I just wanted to listen to this editorial on ESPN.co.uk, which talks about Liverpool. It says Liverpool have now hit the frame of the goal 28 times in the league this season, 9 times more than any other team. Maybe Kenny needs to play himself. Paul, is that just bad luck, or is that just bad play?
Well, for me, you can't be unlucky 28 times. Let's put it that way. It just is impossible. I think with Liverpool, you have to look at the facts. You know, they've spent 100 million on players that, in my opinion, have just haven't been good enough. They're not what you'd have viewed in past as Liverpool players. I don't think so. They've not performed. They've not played well. I mean, Enrique and probably Suarez apart, the rest of them just haven't produced performances. Losing Steven Gerrard for a huge chunk of the season also has been a big blow, and it's cost them. And he's taken a bit of time to get back to his best, but he's nearly there now. But you go to Anfield now, and Liverpool are beatable. That's the thing. Liverpool now at Anfield are beatable. Okay. And that's the problem. They never used to be the case, but it is now, and we have to admit that.
Right, stand your ground. Speak to Paul.
No, I think he's right, but on the other hand, the players which were brought in, go one by one. Stuart Downing the year before, he had, I think, the most assists in the Premiership. Jordan Henderson, who was second most assists. Charlie Adam was fantastic for Blackpool, and even Sir Alex Ferguson was praised how he was playing. And Andy Carroll at the time was England's number 9. So you can say the bad buys, but on the other hand, at the time when we bought them, they were seen as a good buy to take us forward, but it's not worked. On the other hand, again, you can say that Dalglish has not been playing correctly. They brought Henderson and Downing in really to supply the crosses for Andy Carroll, and you can actually probably count on one hand how many times they've all played together in the same game. So something's not quite right.
Okay, something's not quite right. We need to get it right. Okay, I want to move on now. I want to move on to the Super League. The Women's League started today. I want to bring in Sue, who's a major part of the women's game. Sue, is there a real future for women's football?
Hello, yeah. Do you know what? It's absolutely fantastic. The start of the Women's Super League, I think we've been waiting for months for it to actually start, and it actually happened today. There's been some fantastic games on. Arsenal, Everton, 2 massive teams in the women's game. I think it finished 3-2, so we've been a fantastic game to have sort of covered. And then tomorrow we've got Chelsea against Doncaster, which is my team, which is going to be live on ESPN. So it's just great that women's football's getting that little bit more publicity and getting covered a little bit more on TV and on radio and things. And I just think it's getting bigger every year, and if we can get more supporters at the game, I think that will obviously help as well. But it's just exciting times for women's football, and I just wish I was 10 years younger.
Yes, me too, Sue, me too. Laura, you live in Boston. I mean, you've flown back all the way to watch Arsenal. Would you fly back to England to watch Arsenal Ladies? Sorry, New York. Laura, would you fly back from New York to watch Arsenal Ladies?
That's a really unfair question to ask.
It's a good question.
If they were playing around about the same time that Arsenal were playing, yeah, I would, but no. Although I do follow them on Arsenal.com. They have all of their games on there, you know, highlights of the games, and it is a very exciting time for women's football. I think with the up and coming and the restructuring of the Women's Super League, I think that this is now a very exciting time for young girls to really get into football, and I think it's going places.
Paul, obviously you manage Charlton Ladies. Is ladies football going places?
Yes, yeah, I think it is. I really do think that it needs to be, you know, the profile needs to be greater. I think we miss a trick sometimes, you know. The England women have done absolutely fantastic under Hope Powell, but have not received the coverage or the praise that they deserve. And we just need to package it and profile it better. There are some fantastic players, you know, in our Super League. There's some wonderful players. We've had girls, you know, that have gone over to play in the States that have come back, you know, and that's great news for us over here. You know, in my team, I know, you know, they talk about all the top female players all the time, and you know, it just needs to be profiled better, and you know, and given the chance.
Well, Russ, talk about Russ. You're in America. How do they deal with it in America? There's a lot more respect for the ladies' game there, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. It's actually, I believe it's down right now. It's come back. It's gone away. But the women's national team is huge, and I actually watched all of their World Cup matches. It's actually fairly big over here.
Yeah. So, Sue, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah.
Sue, so it's going to be an exciting season. Played during the summer. Just how many people will you get at these games this season?
Well, we're hoping to get more than last season. I think today's game, Arsenal-Everton, I think they got sort of 700, 800, which is, you know, it's pretty good, and it's something that we want to keep building on. We want to keep, you know, making that profile a little bit better and getting more people at the game. And like it was mentioned before, in America it's massive, and you know, we have to take what they've done and try and sort of beat that. And I think playing in the summer helps. You know, we're not playing against the men, which is, you know, obviously we've always got that, you know, Man United are playing Liverpool. People are going to go and watch that game rather than watching, you know, Arsenal ladies against Everton ladies. So I think it's a good thing that we play in the summer and we're not competing against the men's game.
Well, Sue, I'll have to leave it there. It is a good thing, and it's been a good thing today. I want to thank all my guests. You've been wonderful. Thanks, Paul. Man United back on top, 8 points clear. 5 from the bottom, they all lose. It's still all to play for. But I want to thank you, the supporters, for getting in touch with Sports World. Have your say, and we'll see you all very soon.